put a line through it because at current right now we do not have any active permits or doing any active work in the state of Hawaii. I am just with Shark Research Institute, the Hawaii's, the CITES representative initially, and well, I had a hard time finishing this slide because our executive director, Marie Levine, a real stalwart of shark conservation for decades, passed away last summer. She has had health issues for a number of years, but we dearly miss her. So much to talk about her in the decades of work in shark conservation, but I might have a hard time even finishing up this slide. But in either case, Shark Research Institute is going to be disbanding all of our funding, and CITES assets are going to be moving over to CSAVE Foundation with Georgia and Bradley. Georgia and Bradley, unfortunately, just lost her home in Malibu in the fires just 2 weeks ago. So she's still a little bit up in the air right now with what's going on, and we have a CITES meeting coming up this December, which I'm going to be presenting to you about. But in either case, Shark Research Institute will be disbanding out of Princeton University due to the passing of our dear executive director, Marie Levine. God bless her. Okay. I do want to talk that, every time I give a talk here in Hawaii, I've never tried to be a kapuna. I've never tried to say, this is what Hawaiians think of sharks, this is what Hawaiian, that's never been my job. And so I do want to acknowledge the people who you should listen to here, especially when it comes to sharks. The Moana Ohana, and of course Mike Nakachi and his lineage. When it comes to, right now, there really isn't a marriage, which I know Greg Asner is doing a great job in trying to fill that gap. The marriage between science and cultural community is just not there yet. It just isn't. Dr. Asner is doing a spectacular job with his Aqua Coral Reef Restoration Center here and making sure that his PhD students go out into the community, doing a great job with it. But when it comes to sharks, we're just not there yet. So for my perspective, anything that Mike Nakachi and Moana Ohana have to say, they should take first precedence when it comes to marine aspects here in Hawaii. Other places that you can go to find out about shark history and cultural sharks in Hawaii, I love this place. Pu'ukohala Heiau, near Kauai, the national park. Talk to the rangers there. My gosh, they are such a wealth of information. They love talking to people. They are, the whole reason why we have national parks is to preserve the cultural aspect of that area. And so the 4 national parks that we have here, Volcanoes National Park, Pulukohonokahau, Kohala Heiau, and of course Pu'uhonau, all 4 of them all have a different cultural aspect that's special to that particular site. And so the rangers love bringing that out. And so all 4 of them are characteristically different from each other in the Hawaiian cultural education that you get. So I advise, for sharks, this is my favorite one to go to, but please visit all these other cultural Hawaiian national parks here. There's a wealth of information. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My career started off in NOAA Fisheries with the Southeast Fisheries Science Center in Miami. I did work in coral reef restoration, working for the Benthic Ecology and Reef Restoration team. I put these names over here because I was hoping that some of the reef restoration scientists from there would be here to talk because we collaborate a lot. This is the team that I worked with back 20 years ago with NOAA, and we do a lot of work collaborating with coral reef restoration and the growth that's happening over here, or at least in referencing papers. This is the boat that NOAA Fisheries issued me, 29-foot Scarab. It was the drug runner boat that was seized. All of the scientists love to go on my boat because, well, the reefs are like the patch reefs are 3 miles out and the reef line is 5 miles out. So I'd be able to get to the reef line in 15, 20 minutes, whereas the other research boats took them about an hour to get out there. Not a lot of room to work on those boats. But in either case, we were able to work on the aquarius and many different aspects of coral reef research. But again, this is a place where I saw that science and culture and or the local aspects were not really communicating. The community was not really communicating. And especially in government work, it's very, very limiting. So after a while, I came here and I started Fasano Underwater Productions, which I was one of the first high-definition underwater videographers here in Hawaii. I sold a lot of footage to high-definition stations that were just buying footage left and right. Back in 2004, when these flat-screen TVs were just coming out, 1080 HD progressive whatnot. I was one of the first ones filming underwater and sold a lot to nature companies and did very well. As a matter of fact, this film is now owned by Oprah Productions. Oprah Network had come here to start her new network, and she had bought a whole bunch of Hawaiian assets to launch her station. And so Hawaii's Undersea Ohana is now owned by Oprah or Harpo. And then afterwards, I also started working with the Ocean Art Society with Wyland. We did a couple of mermaid films together, and he appointed me the executive director of his Ocean Artist Society, which is sort of a hub, a global hub of marine artists that would send me stories with particular themes, and I would put the stories together, the theme stories together, and every single one of them would use their artwork. That was a criteria. You had to use your artwork to deliver a conservation message. And he made me the appointment of the Ocean Art Society, and my job was to make these films and these publications. You can see these publications at the Ocean Art Society. Wyland is still in charge of it. Boom. มีคนที่นี่รู้พูดไทยได้นะครับที่นี่นะครับมีคนรู้พูดไทยได้คนไทยรู้เอากรุงเทพจะกินปลาฉลามที่นี่มีไหมมีคนพูดไทยไม่มีโอเคไม่เป็นไรครับ Because I'm half Thai, I need to use my voice where it has more weight, where the real problem is. If I'm talking to you guys about shark fin soup, what percentage of you guys are eating shark fin soup on a regular basis? If at all. If in a decade, 2, 3 decades? Never. So my voice, I'm preaching to the choir. I don't have to tell you guys not to eat shark fin soup. But this is my home country. And this is the main city, Bangkok, in my home country. You have MBK Center is a famous shopping center, where in their food court, you could get shark fin soup. Look at the size of that great, was it whale shark fin? Wow. Chinatown, Bangkok is just disgusting. You get bird's nests and shark fin soup on the street. Dirty, disgusting diesel trucks going everywhere, and you could buy it on the street. Paragon Alley, and you think this is just in the alleys and a dirty street? Siam Paragon is a mall in Bangkok that has a Lamborghini dealership in it. It has a Bentley dealership in it. This is a high-end, super high-end luxury mall in downtown Bangkok. This time period right now is, before I get to that slide. My voice has more weight over there in Thailand than it does over here in Hawaii. And so I've taken the initiative, having talks at the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand. We've been present at the Lemur World Ocean Day, and I always try to give talks at all the dive expos in Manila, Singapore, in Bangkok, and these are mostly dive travel expos. The DRT, which is a dive resort travel expo, and also Asia Dive Expo, which is run by John Fett, one of the great conservationists. But teaming up in Thailand with my colleagues is really where my voice is needed. And this is the time of year that we are absolutely scared of, just around the corner, Chinese New Year. So all the shark fins right now, you can bet for right now, because they want them as fresh as possible. Because the Chinese tourist that's coming into Thailand right now is saving the country. Thailand is dependent, because of COVID, on the Chinese tourism money right now, and they are doing everything that they can to attract them. You see that? Every mall that you go to is dressed in red and gold. Lanterns everywhere. This is the time of season for Chinese, and they are doing what they can to get the money to over there. And so the shark fins have just been out of control going in there. And so we have to team up with others, besides in Thailand, with others, countries, because the real problem is China. Japanese have a lot of fishing rights, but it's it. The shark fins is China. And so the campaigns that we run with Wild Aid in China have supported getting celebrities to advocate to their other Chinese. And believe me, this list goes on. There's like 500 Chinese and Asian celebrities on this. I've been fortunate to be a part of it with Wyland and David Duboulay and Mike Amon, the owner of the Indochine restaurants. But in either case, we have to branch out a little bit more and get the whole message out throughout all of Asia. Because the Chinese are everywhere in all of Asia. They've been wonderful merchants for centuries. So, I even do work in the Philippines. The Department of Philippines, they have a dive marketing tourism department.
dive marketing team of the Department of Tourism for the Philippines. I've consulted with them. I've talked with the Malapascua mayor about building a tiger shark statue installation. We've met with INR, I've met with many different people over there in the Philippines, and I have to tell you, if you are a scuba diver, American scuba diver, do yourself a favor. Visit the Philippines and do a dive trip. Spectacular place. Your dollar, so strong. You could get 5-star accommodations and food and everything for 3-star prices. Everybody speaks English there, and they're the nicest people in the whole world. Filipinos, oh my God, my friends over in the Philippines, special people. Please do yourself a favor and visit the Philippines for diving. Okay, it leads me also to where I am now with the Explorers Club and Shark Research Institute. Like I said, we stand on shoulders of the people that we work with and who people who come before us. Real quick, Kater, is the air conditioning on in here? Is it getting a little bit stuffy?
I'm not sure how to adjust that.
And everybody can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Enunciate from the diaphragm. Get back to the road. Okay, so let's talk about what you guys are really here for, sightings. And this is the work that I am doing right now with the Shark Research Institute. We're going to be figuring out what we're doing with this upcoming meeting in December. And I'll tell you about where that's going to be. CITES is the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild and Fauna and Flora. So yes, it's plants and animals. It was started in '73 with the first one. The first COP, Conference of Parties, was in '76. It creates frameworks. It doesn't create laws. I don't want to say it doesn't have any teeth, but these are frameworks of the member nations accepted so that we come up with a global standard of how we could track our species that are being traded globally. So no, the lobsters, Homarus americanus, that's coming from Maine and is sitting in the tanks over here, conical lobsters, those are not part of CITES because they're not globally traded. But if that Homarus americanus is going over to Japan, then that is part of CITES. But there's another aspect of it, and I'll show you why they're not on the list. So it doesn't really create the laws, but it advises to create a global standard of tracking, and it relies heavily on the scientific data from the IUCN and also the FAO of the United Nations, which is the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. IUCN is the International Union of Conservation Nature. They run the Red List every year, and I'll talk about that also. So that was in 1975. That was what CITES meeting looked like in DC. This is what it looks like today. This was Bangkok in 2013. That's Yingluck Shinawatra. She was the prime minister at the time. She was ousted about 2 years after that conference. And this is what it looked like last year in Panama. And this is what CITES does. And you'll notice what I underlined. International trade of endangered species. So, Homarus americanus, the lobster, Maine lobster, is not endangered. So even if it's being shipped to Europe, it's not going to be tracked. But Pinniloris argus, the Caribbean spiny lobster, is endangered. And so that's tracked through CITES when it's being shipped off to other countries. So again, it's an international trade of endangered species. And they set 3 levels appendixes for animals. The first appendix is, okay, a country, we're going to use a real situation. Australia in 2000 proposed the great white shark to go to appendix 3. And that means one party says, hey, we have a problem with this one animal. We want to get information from other parties. Okay, we accepted it, it's now on appendix 3. If all the parties get together and they say, you know what, there is a problem amongst the global trade of this thing, we need to regulate it, then the animal moves to appendix 2. If in the trade regulations we notice that we are leading this animal towards extinction, then we have to move it to appendix 1, which is the complete arrest of that trade. Now there's a little catch-22 to conservation here. As the animal moves up this, yes, it's afforded more protections, but it also becomes higher value in the black market. So a little bit of catch-22 that we have to accept. Now, the Convention of Parties is each country will have a managing authority and a scientific authority. For the United States, it is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And this is the roadmap that they used. Federal registers went out last March. Remember this October date, okay, 2024. This was the second notice. I'm going to bring you to that later on. And then this is how we all discuss and propose and make decisions on which animals are going to be proposed at the CITES International Convention. This is the U.S. and Fish and Wildlife Service, how they handle it. We have to go through that. Our scientific authority is Wildlife Conservation Society, Dr. Sue Lieberman. She's also been with the Pew Trust. She has also, she does all animals. She's been handling trafficking of all different animals, flora and fauna. If you want to talk about sharks in particular, it is Dr. Sarah Fowler. She is one of the authors of the complete guide, Sharks of the World. We do use this book. This book is used by the international delegates in shark identification and also shark biology. Everything about the classifications, these are the literal Bibles that delegates use, and she's the author, Dr. Sarah Fowler. Sweetest lady you'll ever meet, too. Really, really nice people. And let's talk about this timeline here, because I wanted to bring in this with the great white sharks in 2000. So, all of this year, since 76, the first conference of parties, COPs, were, well, what did you guys hear about in the 70s and 80s? Rhino horn, elephant tusks, walrus tusks, right? Where were all those big animals that were being traded back then? That's what they were all primarily handling. It wasn't until 2000 that Australia was the first person to say, okay, great white sharks, we're starting to see depletion, let's move them to Appendix 3. And we did. They had good scientific to show that they were depleting, let's move it in. In the search of shark fins that are being shipped to China, we came across, holy cow, there's more than just great white sharks. All the sharks. Once they established a regulated way of looking for great white shark fins, they started finding other shark species in the trade. And that's what eventually grew, so that we have throughout the years, all the different sharks getting at it. So it culminated to last year, where every single Carcharinidae, every requiem shark was included in Appendix 2 protection. Wonderful move. Tiger shark, unfortunately, did not make it. The tiger shark is not considered a Carcharinidae. It's its own family. It was moved about 4 years ago, and that book says so right there, so we have to listen to it. It was to its own family now called Galeoceridae, and so it is no longer a Carcharinidae. It is not protected under Appendix 2 in CITES. The tiger shark is not protected. That's also kind of a good thing, because when you look at the relative form of a tiger shark body, you'll see their fins are kind of small. The ratio of their fins are smaller to their body. These guys want the big fins, the ratio where it's big fins to small body. So oceanic whitetips, whale sharks, and great white sharks. They're also doing everything that they can for it. Oh, one thing I wanted to make note of here, we lost about $18,000 at Institute because when we were about to go to Geneva, actually we were about to go to Sri Lanka, Colombo, which is where the original CITES was going, where the CITES was supposed to be held in, but then there were terrorist bombings at the hotel that the convention was supposed to be held at about 2 weeks before. And so they had to move it to the headquarters in Geneva. And one thing that you see up here, look at where I gotta go in December. Samarkand, Uzbekistan, Silk Road, centuries-old city of the Silk Road. You want to talk about some danger? We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But it's a huge one because this is the one that we're finally moving. We have proposals for oceanic whitetips, the whale shark, and all mobulidae. We don't call mantas anymore. They're mobulids. Are going to be moved to Appendix 1. No trade, the rest of the trade whatsoever. That's going to be a big meeting this December. Am I excited to go going to Uzbekistan with a U.S. passport? Not really, no. This is another slide showing all the different years that we added sharks and rays to CITES protections. It's been a lot of work. And this is what it looks like. This is a good sample of what a proposal looks like. This is the proposal, Prop 37 in Panama. And believe me, these proposals are about 60 pages long. I'm just showing you the very face of them. Because there is so much science. Everything here has to be backed by science. There's nothing quoted from Wikipedia in any of these poems. Everything is backed by literal science, and peer-reviewed scientific papers are the only acceptance. And so this is what a regular proposal looks like. Comes up with this is how we're going to get all the sharks on there, And why we're gonna get there, this is for the remaining hammerhead species. And this is just a hodgepodge of what they look like. This is all the information that we're gonna be getting in. Believe me, about 60 pages for each animal is included. And so my job when I'm there is, I have to go to these different meetings. Oh, you can't really see that, no problem. During the event, I have to attend meetings that the different member nations, the delegates, are holding to say, give us information. We're here to talk about sharks at this room, at this time. Anybody interested in saving sharks, come and meet with these delegates. And so we go there and we petition them. Petition, lobby, there's no money exchanged or anything, of course, but it's just sound science fact. And one thing that you cannot take a photograph of a delegate. Photographs are not allowed of any of the delegates. The security line to get through this is amazing. When I first arrived in Panama, they had armed guards and a special line just for the sightings, for us sightings delegates to go through. The security is very heavy for this. No photographs, meetings, and you just sit there and politely petition. Politely petition. Excuse me. And so you petition so that hopefully, within the first time that your vote comes up, which is usually around day 3 or 4 of the conference, you get a yes vote for the protection of your proposals, and you have to get more than 66% of it to pass. All right, we got it. We got 75% of the member delegates to say that we are going to save recreating sharks by moving them over to Appendix 2. Yes, 75% of it. But these member nations know that what they did was just make the value of their fishing waters more valuable. So West African nations and other players come in that are kind of bad. No, yeah, I would. Break. One second. Ocean regulation, you gotta have a break. And so during the period that you get that yes vote, until the very last day of the conference, which could last about 8 to 10 days, there is an appeal process going through. Because on the last day, every member nation has the right to appeal that 75% vote and ask for a recount. Literally throwing away that vote and ask for a new recount. So during that whole week, there are bad players that are trying to sway the delegates to not vote to save those sharks. And so these are some pictures that I took at various events. They don't like when NGOs like us have photographs. So it's limited. I do get yelled at when you're doing this. This is a Chinese poster showing all the positive things that could come from Shark Project that they're handing out to the delegates. This is a trust that is very well known to lobby against NGOs. Very big trust, global trust. You get Japanese fishermen, suicide or whatnot, will actually put out comments saying that, hey, long lining is a Japanese tradition. We've been doing it for centuries. It's just like hanging an apple. You know, it's an underwater game of trying to eat an apple hanging from a string. Long lining. So these are the players. This is the I don't want to call it propaganda because they're arguing for their side. But this is the opposition that you're going to see over there. And you actually come across some pretty ingenious things. This was done by my good friend Michael All from Ocean Geographic Magazine. Marie Georgian, who I mentioned earlier, with Sea Savers, and Michael All of J. Ireland. They had caught the Japanese businessmen delegates having dinner with the Western African nation delegates. And as soon as they saw that the camera's out, that meeting broke up real quick. This is a supernova. This was back in Bangkok. So this happens a lot during that week. And they set it up to do this because, again, the value is huge. This is Panama Convention Center where I was at for the last meeting. Just 4 miles away, 6.3 kilometers, is Mercado de Marisco. Hope I said that right. The seafood market. Cinta Costello seafood market. In South America, ceviche tiburon is a very, very big dish, very popular dish. Raw shark. We've all had ceviche. They just make it with tiburon. This is what goes on at that market. So here we are at the CITES Convention Center, and 4 miles away, baby sharks. This is the only adult shark that I saw the whole time. All these are baby sharks that have left a processing center. How do you know they were just at a processing center? Because they're all headless and they're gutted, but their fins are still on. I'm sorry, their fins are off now. Some of the small fins do stay on if the ratio's not there, but they are all removed now. They've been through a processing center. No, you cannot get to that processing center. Do I want to go to that processing center? No, it is run by the mafia. I have a beautiful boy, 16 years old, that I like to come home to and hang out with. I have no business doing any of that. I was just happy enough to be able to get these photographs because it's legal. It's legal. They are catching and fishing their waters to make their own food supply. Ceviche tuna. Lots of restaurants in Panama that serve this. So this is completely legal, but still it's odd that you would see, or ironic that you would see a conference to try to stop this being held 4 miles away while all this is going on. This big chunk of red meat turned out to be a hammerhead, by the way. It's not salmon. They don't have salmon in Panama. Okay, and so when we do get these the yes votes, we have to understand that also the customs officers are the ones that are having to look through the shark fin piles. They're the ones that go through everything to try to catch the shark fins. They're customs agents. They're not marine biologists like us. They don't know about anatomy. So again, our job is also to create field guides and to assist them, assist the field, assist the fishing industry, the observers, the researchers, and the policy makers in how to properly identify. So this one was done by the Wildlife Conservation Fund, and I thought it was great that they used real dead images to show, because that's what you're looking for. This is what they go to work and look at. Okay, what do we have over here? What type of sharks are these? Look at all these dead sharks. Not like me, when I can jump in and I can see beautiful sharks swimming by me. These guys have to look at dead sharks all day and pick it out. Tough job. So we try to help them out as much as we can. And so this was done by the Crew Trust. Any of the materials on here you're welcome to look at. I ask that you just don't take them. These are materials that I collected from the CITES events that I've gone through over the years. This is the one made by the Pew Trust on how to identify your different fins for customs agents. And I'm holding up these papers and you're like, well, that seems kind of old. There's an app for it. Yes, there's a mobile app for shark fins. So a customs agent now can take his mobile app and say, what type of fin is it? And here it is. It was done by the Singapore National Parks Board in conjunction with Conservation International and AI through Microsoft. And yes, we now have a Fin Finder mobile app that customs agents can use to see what type of fins we have immediately. And it is all run by AI. So yes, I have submitted fins also. They're looking for more dry fins. Thank God I don't have a lot of those photographs. Okay, and another one is also done by the FAO of the United Nations, and this is going to be called iSharkFin. They're still collecting data, because like all AI, the more data you put into it, the smarter it's going to become, the more it's going to learn. And so I hope you don't come across anything, but if you can submit to it, help them, it does help out a lot. So there are apps that help out in this regard now. One thing I want to mention, Jack's Diving Locker. Yes, we have Terry and Jeff Leitcher over here talking about CITES. I wanted to say thank you to them, because before the COP16 in 2013 in Bangkok, Jeff and Keller had videotaped Sean Heinrichs with his model, Hannah Mermaid, swimming with manta rays. The film that they created was called Manta's Last Dance. It's about a 4-minute film that shows her elegantly dancing with this manta ray, and then all of a sudden it cuts to the gills of the manta ray being ripped out, because that's what they do in Indonesia. And so this film was played over there, and they actually, the Manta Trust, had purchased a 20-foot inflatable manta ray and had a huge conference at the Queen Syndicate Convention Center in Bangkok. And there was a live speech by Richard Branson of Virgin Corporation, and also a tape recording from Prince William. Prince William had also made a plea to save manta rays to the delegates. Great big party, and I gotta tell you, this film was impactful. So thank you for having Sean. Sean filmed this in February, and it was by April. We were over there in Thailand showing this off to the delegates, and the delegates had voted in favor for the manta rays. So yes, Jack's Diving Locker has helped out in saving mantas internationally also. Okay, so let's talk about the next one. Samarkand, Silk Road. Who wants to go there holding an American passport? A little worried about this one. It's going to be taking place in December in Uzbekistan. You know, new administration. Let's see what happens with this guy. But I wanted to show you what does a regular proposal look like. And so this came out just recently, in October, for the Maldives. The Maldives are now proposing to put whale sharks to Appendix 1. And so they put this call out to notification to all the parties that any information that you have about whale sharks, science information that you have about population numbers, trade, shark fins that you see, anything, tourism numbers, anything and everything, please submit it, and they put it all together in this huge packet. Again, these proposals already have a ton of science to them. I mean, these things are 50, 60 pages long. There's already a lot, but they're always asking for more. More science, better off. So this is what a typical proposal starts off as. Why do we do this for whale sharks? Well, right now it's currently endangered, and it's largely depleted. Unfortunately, you know, one thing about Hawaii is that we're so lucky. A lot of the global problems of animals, really, we don't have over here when it comes to depletion of sharks. We have other problems with animals coming in from different parts of the globe, don't get me wrong. But for the most part, when it comes to sharks, whale sharks, oceanic whitetips, we have a good abundance of them over here that we don't really see how just globally how depleted and endangered they are. We think, oh, I just saw a shark from the boat, you know, a whale shark from the boat the other day. They must be out there all over the place. Actually, no. For the globe, for the big picture, they are endangered and they are largely depleted. And so this is the proposal for oceanic whitetip sharks from Panama. Hey, oceanic whitetips are being depleted globally. They are just way down in numbers. They're past being depleted and almost at the critically endangered listing right now. And so moving them over to Appendix 1 is going to be important. And you can see from other nations, this is important. Other nations around the world, 30 nations around the world, already have individual laws protecting oceanic whitetip sharks particularly. So we're already starting to realize, as a globe, that this shark needs help. That's important. This shark does bring a lot of money for tourism in many different places. Okay, and the next one is going to be Ecuador. Ecuador is proposing all mobulids. We don't call them mantas anymore. They are now mobulidae. So mobulids, all of our mobulid rays are going to be proposed for appendix. They should be moving up to Appendix 1. Some species are in Appendix 3, but everything should be moving up into Appendix 1 for manta rays.
Since we have so many manta rays here, why did we change the name?
I'm sorry?
Why did we change the name?
They changed the name about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, just to keep it all one family of the mobulidae. So mantas are more of a colloquial name, but for scientists, they're all mobulids now. And the genus is all mobulids. Okay. And so let's go back to what the U.S. is going to be doing for this conference. If you remember, this roadmap here earlier, well, they came out with their second notice. And if you notice, it was supposed to be October 24. And look when they actually came out with the notice, the day after Christmas. just a little bit late. So for the second notice, this is what they came up with as what they're going to be proposing at the next CITES this December. They are only going to be supporting the Guadalupe fur seal and the Korean monk seal to be moved down from Appendix 1 to Appendix 2. You're like, what? So that means they're not extinct anymore? Korean monk seal, what are you talking about? They're still gone, they're still extinct. They haven't been seen since 1954. So because there isn't a trade in the animal because it's extinct, why should this animal be on the list? And so this is what our U.S. Fish and Wildlife are concerned about as the #1 consideration for this upcoming conference, is to move this animal, these two extinct animals, from Appendix 1 to Appendix 2 because they just aren't there. So let's talk about sharks then. What are you going to do for them? These are the proposals, undecided right now, but they want more information, they want more consultation. So they're willing to take a look at the oceanic white-tip shark and the whale shark. And also these other gopher sharks and whatnot, but these are the two big ones that we're working on right here, oceanic and whale sharks. So they're still undecided, they still want more information, if they will or not. And in this one, they just said flat out, no, unless we significant information, we don't care to address any of these skates, rays. There is mobulas over here. The Atlantic and sicklefin mobulas are in there, but they don't care to handle anything else with sharks at the next meeting. They're very happy with keeping them where they are. So the United States right now is only looking to move animals that are extinct from the top to a level down. And I have to argue some more to please support those other propositions for great white sharks. Because there are a lot of reports for this, and we do have a lot of laws that help out. This was a very important report that led to the shark, to another law being enacted, which I'll show you later on. But in either case, this was a little bit of a surprise to me. 12.1 million pounds of sharks in 2021. So it's 1 year, but they're only valued at $4 million. Really? That's all they're really worth. And then it just didn't make sense to me, that number, that it just seems so cheap. And then I realized, well, wait a second, they're not counting the fins that are going out. This is just what's landing. This is just what's landing, not what's going out. But we do have laws that for sharks that prohibit shark finning, sharks, and just having possession of sharks in general, shark fins in general. Just being in possession of them will get you into a lot of trouble these days. So we do have good laws here. We're just not really looking forward to knocking out the trade of it. We don't mind being a part of the trade of it right now. And so I have to do other work in other countries. And so I'm going to be teaming up with Validate Thailand and help out with their efforts against ISO, because honestly, I'd rather have the guys with a Thailand passport walking around with boots on the ground in Uzbekistan than me with a U.S. passport with my boots on the ground. I am a little bit worried, but we'll just see what happens. And also working with Freeland, which is part of they do get money from U.S. aid, and they do have regional office. Their big thing is human trafficking. They are rangers. The Freeland are rangers. They are ex-military, U.S. military, through U.S. aid, teaching rangers in foreign countries how to stop wildlife trafficking, how to encounter poachers, and how to help out with human trafficking, mostly here in the seafood industries of South Asia. But they do assist also with shark fins. So we're going to be teaming up with them. And so, I'm going to ask you, please, this is a new campaign from Thailand. No sharks on the menu. Sharks off the menu. And of course, we always have, we are finished with fins. If anybody would like to join me, we want to take all the sharks off the menu, please. Everyone, sharks off the menu. Gotta get the sharks off the menu. We need them in our oceans. Okay? This was sponsored by Hawaii Boat Club, so if you'd like to talk to me about going out scuba diving on a boat, a lot of fun. Great time to do that. But thank you very much for your time, and I really appreciate that. Question in the backpack. Sorry, Terry.
So my question is, the U.S. delegates are going to be from the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife, assuming any U.S. citizens can go to Uzbekistan at that.
Correct. They do assign Dr. Sue Lieberman to be the voice of the U.S. She sits behind the United States microphone and has access to the red button to be able to speak to the open public during the plenary. Sue Lieberman is the one in charge of it, and she is under the guidance of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
But she could only do what they propose and agree to and publish in the Federal Register as their position.
Exactly.
She doesn't have any autonomy.
She can't go off on her own, personal beliefs or whatnot. There is a guideline that we all have to abide by. Well, for Thailand, I was living in Thailand at the time. I was going back and forth between here and Thailand, and the security there, I had to go to the U.S. Embassy 3 times just to be able to get clearance for me to attend this conference. And it was at the Queen Sirikit Convention Center, which is a major convention center in downtown Thailand, an old one. And the security there was just very, very tough. But no, but in either case, no, you can't, she cannot go off on her own, and she has to abide by what the U.S. Fish and Wildlife do say. Yes, Derek.
You said that the U.S. still, I thought that all of the U.S. no longer allowed shark fin soup even, you know, that we weren't importing anything or allowing it, possession. There was a certain time that it all had to be eaten.
Correct.
But, so that's still this case, correct?
Yes, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife still supports the national laws that we have against shark finning, shark collecting, shark delivery. They just don't want to do anything with shark fin trade, and that's what the citing. So they're I don't want to say they're
Shark
bowing
fin
out.
trade, having to do with the U.S.? The U.S. isn't involved in it, are they?
Well,
Technically?
there is a black market, and
We are.
Right.
it does get hidden.
Okay.
Yeah, Honolulu is a hub for Asia. Believe me, there's shark fins going through Honolulu. Miami, where I used to be, was also a big hub for the South American sharks to make it over to China. It's there. It's the black market. We don't want to admit it, but it is there.
And it's up to the customs agents to find that?
Yes,
The fins going to Honolulu as an example?
correct. They are the main ones that are seeing the trade moving around, and so they're also looking for other things besides shark
Yeah, of course
fins.
they are.
Seahorses is another big problem in the trade. So they're looking for seahorses from South America, making it over to China. And I forget the lady over there. She's always asking me about the seahorse situation for CITES. But yes, they are looking for many other things besides that too.
Probably smuggling the shark fins in with the firecrackers.
Correct. You're absolutely
They're
right.
having a
As a
hard
matter of fact,
time
Al
finding
Jazeera
those.
just did a great article that they were able to get shark fin soup in Brooklyn, New York. I bet you I could go to Chinatown in Honolulu and I could find a restaurant that would eventually serve me a bowl of shark fin soup if I asked around enough. It is there. Yes.
So we're talking about shark fins. What about the rest of the shark? What happens to the rest of the body?
Correct. There's so many different laws that the countries recognize in how the fins are being delivered. And one loophole is that if the fins are still attached to the body, then it's acceptable in trade. And so what we see, I wish I had a picture from my good friend Shin with the International what's it, Conservation of Photographers. In either case, he has a photograph where all that's attached is the head, the spine, and the fins. The rest of the body is taken apart. The reason they do that is because, well, weight. They have to ship these things, and that is just, shark meat is high in ammonia in the first place. As soon as it's dead, it starts rotting. The NH4 in it just starts rotting out the meat. And so to get rid of that meaty portion and just leaving the spine attached with the fins and head is legal. And I have seen that in many instances.
So do they just throw the bodies back in the water?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, there could be, like us in the United States, we are able to ship it down to them for their ceviche, Tiburon. You'll be surprised, South America is huge when it comes to the shark fishing and the trade to China and also African nations. It's a really big mafia problem, honestly. Yes.
Well, I hate to be a skeptic here. I understand your studies and your population dynamic stuff and reports ending up in a regulation. Can you talk about what enforcement looks like? Is it all compliance voluntary?
None, just like we have over here, and just like we have all these laws, but enforcement is null, unfortunately. And when you do find a problem, it takes a lot to prosecute. We did have a good in 2020. Do you guys hear about the story of the shark fin from the Indonesian fishermen in Honolulu, right, Jeff? We just finished prosecuting them last year. They were caught with over 250 pounds of shark fins. It was a large number of shark fins that were caught just here in Honolulu, and they were from Indonesian fishermen that had gotten off of their fishing boat and was trying to go back to Indonesia with them and had got caught with them. And it was a sizable amount, like $225,000 worth of shark fins were captured from them. So, I'm sorry, what's the question about?
I was just curious
Are
if-
we catching them? I mean, just like the drug trade, if we do a drug bust in Miami, we really only caught about 8 to 10% of what the actual amount of drugs that's going through. So, that little bit of shark fins that we got in Honolulu 4 years ago, compared to what's actually going through, it can be a fraction.
We catch a guy every 5 years or so, it looks like.
Correct. And now I'm seeing pictures of some live sharks out there have had fins missing also. That popped up about 3 years ago. Yes, sir.
How's the current population of all species of sharks in the main Hawaiian Islands compared to the Northwest Hawaiian Islands?
Oh, Northwest Hawaiians have a lot more, significantly more, in all species.
We stopped fishing up there, thank God, and so there has been a rebound effect, but also just there's less population up there of us.
Is that because of
There's less human population.
Is that because of overfishing?
And so
or-
nature can take over and do what they need to do, and they do it very successfully up there in the Northwest Islands.
Is that primarily because of overfishing in the main Hawaiian Islands, or are there other reasons?
No, they have significantly more numbers up there. Oh, because they're fishing up here?
Yeah, or
No,
have traditionally.
not really. I talked to Melanie Hutchinson about this, and she said this is a touchy subject because there really aren't good numbers of bycatch with sharks, unfortunately. And so it's hard to tell if, what is the main impact over here. But in general, we do have a healthy population of sharks in Hawaii in comparison to the rest of the world. The Northwest Islands, yes, Papahanao, Mokeakea National Marine Monument does have a significant amount of all species sharks compared to us, our populated islands. Any other questions, anybody? Yes, sir.
I remember reading somewhere that British fish and chips is actually made from shark meat.
Yeah,
Is
sometimes.
that part of the problem?
Not really.
Minor.
No, very, very minor. I heard about this when the cod numbers were starting to go down, then they started using dogfish for fish and chips. But I think there has been a rebound. The fisheries, the Atlantic fisheries have been saved. When we stopped with menhaden, when we stopped taking menhaden out of the Atlantic, you'll be surprised that within the last 15 years, the Atlantic fisheries, especially shark fisheries, have actually rebounded. Yes, please.
So what about the education in these countries to educate the people how important sharks are to our ocean waters?
Correct. We rely on these NGOs like Wild Aid, like Fin Free Thailand, and there was another one, with Shark Savers also. We rely on these NGOs to get out to the schools. Love Wildlife is another one that actually goes to the schools and teaches kids, because it's better if you teach the kids not to. The adults are already set in their own ways. If they go to a wedding banquet and there's shark fin, they're not going to say, well, we're going to walk out. So you got to teach the kids. So that the next generations will learn not to have this anymore. Any other questions?
Is Dr. Kim Holland still around?
Yes, he is. Yep, great man. Carl Myers, Kim Holland, good people, great man. He is close to retirement though. He did throw up opposition to our shark bill that we enacted and signed into law in 2021. That Governor Ide signed into law. He did oppose that, but besides that, he's a great guy.
Who are the celebrities that are,
They are Thai celebrities. I don't know their exact names, because Thai people, we have names that are this long, 15, 20 syllables. But the big thing in Thailand right now is Lil Kum, half Thai, half Western. So myself, I think I could be a model there. Yes, ma'am.
So my question is, what's an impact that the individuals in this room could make on this issue? Do we respond to the Federal Register? Do we comment in the Federal Register?
You are welcome to, yes, it is a federal register.
What would be the call for people here if we want to work on addressing the issue?
NGOs, it's always money. It's always money. All the talks I've given here, I've never taken a single dollar or asked for, I never had any shirts handed out or sold anything, but you can help out by giving money. I don't ask for money. The Shark Research Institute doesn't want money. We don't ask for money. All of it is going to go to Georgia anyway for CITES and maybe your home. I don't know. But in either case, the best way to help out is just finding a good NGO that you believe in, research them to make sure that they are legitimate, and donating your money would go a long way. Just telling other people about it. I know I'm preaching to the choir. Nobody here eats shark fin, nor wants to. So thank you for coming out tonight to learn about this whole new area of the world in shark fin related products and trade. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm from Iowa, and we eat beef and pork and chicken. So I have no idea what the appeal of shark fin soup would be.
Absolutely correct. There's no taste to the shark fin. It doesn't add any nutritional value.
It doesn't add any flavorful value. It's the imperialistic idea that we have. That's a shark. Well, I'm bigger than that animal. I'm going to eat that shark. Especially in Asian culture. I can say this because I'm half Thai. We have that imperialistic vision of, if that's the last animal of its kind, I'm going to pay $5 million to eat it. I want all of you and my friends to watch me eat it. That is our imperialistic attitude that we have and have had towards animals. It is changing, thank God. Even, members of the Explorers Club that I'm a member of, you go into our headquarters in New York City, in the Upper West Side, and it's just littered with stuffed dead animals. Things that were collected 100, 120 years ago. But this is how we used to learn about faraway places. Like, hey, I'm going to go somewhere, let me collect it, stuff it, and put it over here and study it over here. We don't have to do that anymore. We're on the new advent of knowing that, hey, we don't do this. We don't go and take treasures from other cultures and bring it to our museums. We're actually giving back treasures now to the countries that colonialism has taken over the decades. Yes.
What does a bowl of shark fin soup go for in, say, Chinatown, Honolulu, or San Francisco?
Well, you're not allowed to have it in either of those places, so you can't, so it would be a pricey
It's
dollar.
gonna be expensive, yeah.
The Al Jazeera report had it in Brooklyn. I think they paid $60 for it, and then also $120 for the rarer species, for the great white shark one. If you go to Thailand, where you are able to have it, $6, and you can get a shark fin soup. It's just it's a small little fin, $6 on the street in Chinatown. And of course, if you go into the fancy or the higher end Chinese restaurants, the real banquet style, imperialistic luxury Chinese restaurants, then you are paying up to $100 to $150 for the shark fin soup. But you are getting a super rare species at that time.
But the soup doesn't taste good, or doesn't have any
That's
flavor?
not impressing me because I'm eating a shark and I paid a lot of money for it. Aren't you impressed with me? I'm Asian. I need this. I don't have character. I need to have a shark fin to show that I have money and I could eat a shark. Why aren't you impressed with me?
Yeah. Cultural difference, isn't there? Yeah.
It's a different mindset.
Yeah, cultural difference, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is there a counterfeit market where people actually?
Yes.
Could probably serve people anything and tell them it was shark fin.
Vegetarian shark fin. We saw this in Chinatown, New York City. My girlfriend Tracy and I were just there 2 months ago. Chinatown shark fin, it is known as organic vegetarian shark fin. I asked the lady what it was made out of. She couldn't give me an answer. It was the material.
The next level is plant-based shark fin.
There you go, correct. Uh-huh.
Organic sea salt.
There, that'll work too. Yes, ma'am.
Do they put anything else in the water besides the shark fin?
I'm sorry?
When they make the soup, do they put anything else in the water besides the shark fin?
It's a chicken broth or a pork broth. Most likely more of a chicken broth though. It's solely imperialistic. It's just to show that you're eating a shark and you pay money. Anybody else? Mahalo, everyone. Appreciate it. Thank you. Sharks off the menu. Sharks off the menu. Good.